Now, as an online coach trying to grow your community business, it can be difficult to know what you should be focusing on to make sure that your business is moving in the right direction. Lots of people talk about things like engagement and different numbers in terms of conversions and so on. And those are important, yes, but those are just little things that we can tweak over time. But there are three key metrics that I like to look at in terms of things that are going to move the needle for my business. They're going to keep pushing me in the right direction. So these are the three things that I would focus on as a coach trying to grow your school community or community business. The first one is that I would always make sure that my community is trying to drive people towards the goal of becoming a client. So I want to be turning members into clients. And that might sound obvious, but often we aren't actively doing that. The community itself can be filling lots of different needs, and not all of those different needs and goals and things that you're doing inside are actively pushing people in the right direction. So we want to make sure that everything has intent. There's a flow to the community itself so that we are always pushing people towards the end goal of working with us, because we want to help them get that transformation, and they're not going to get that help and they're not going to get that result if they don't work with us. So it's a win-win situation. But obviously some people are ready right away and other people might be ready in a year's time. So we have to make sure that we are nurturing inside, but everything is always pushing people towards the goal of becoming a client. So we want to make sure that is the focus, because this is a business after all. Yes, you want to help people, but it's still a business, and the best way you can help them is by getting them that transformation or that result. So the first metric that I like to look at is that I am trying to check how many conversations with intent that I'm having. So this metric is obviously one that you can't actively track in terms of numbers somewhere, but you can be making a note of this and paying attention to this. So how many conversations are you having with people? And these are one-on-one, or maybe they're with small groups. But the idea is that you want to have as many conversations as possible, because most sales that you will have, or most people that you convert into clients, they will always come off the end of a conversation, be it on a one-on-one call, DMs, comments in posts, and so on. So you want to be actively engaging with people and trying to drive conversations as much as possible. So this could be in the DMs, as I said, with auto DMs on the Skool platform potentially, or actively following up with people that do reply. And rather than just having a cut-off conversation where you go, that's great, good to have you here, and ending it, we don't want to do that. We want to keep it going. We want to spark it up while you've got that momentum and have a conversation with people. It's not that you have to sell to them, but they have to get to know you and you want to get to know them. Ask about what they're doing. How's it going? Ask questions, show interest. People don't care how much you know until they know how much you care. So you want to be doing everything, and especially with a small community in the beginning, you want to be doing things like onboarding calls, even one-on-one, because this is going to be great research for you, and it's going to be the shortest way for you to be able to have a conversation with people and then potentially sell them. And your onboarding calls don't have to be sales calls, but you could talk about the next steps and book in another call potentially off the onboarding. But the onboarding will get people to know, like, and trust you. And even if they're not ready to work with you on that call, and you can feel that they're not, you don't have to push it. But then what you can do is obviously start tagging them and talking to them, but they know you. They've communicated with you. So now they're going to be more active inside the community itself. And this goes with intros in threads where you can ask more questions there, the comments and everything else. But you want to go deeper. This is the thing here. Go deeper than just sort of the surface level stuff. Ask more questions, get to know them, pull information out of them. But as I said before, clients come from conversations. So we want to be having as many as possible. Don't just look at creating engagement posts and getting people so your activity is going up. If that activity is just people liking polls or sharing GIFs, it's pointless activity. So we want to be having as many conversations as possible where it's real activity. It's not fake activity. Fake activity may get you a little bit more traffic coming in. If you're on the Skool platform, then discovery, maybe you'll get pushed a little bit more, but it's not what we should be focusing on. What we should be focusing on is the human beings that are in your group now and speaking to them, building trust and making them feel that it's a safe place for them to engage and share with you. When they go deeper and they open up more, this is where you're going to make more money. So if this metric And I call it a metric, but if you're not having many conversations in a community, then you'll notice that the amount of money that you're making probably has a direct correlation there. So conversations are king. Metric number 2 is that you want a good activation rate. So your activation rate is a high percentage of people, especially new members, in the first 7 days who do something meaningful. They take some meaningful action of some kind in their first 7 days when they've got that initial momentum. So this comes back to, yes, having the conversations as well, but you ideally want them to get them to do the training, get them to show up to a call, get them to show up to an onboarding call, engage on a post, communicate, and perhaps create a post of their own. We want them to do something meaningful. And there's many different ways that meaningful action can resonate. It could just be a number of small actions, such as liking posts, commenting, lots of mini little actions as well. But we want them to invest in some way, shape, or form in at least a little bit. So it doesn't have to be a massive action, but it has to be some form of meaningful interaction inside the community, because this is how we build the momentum. So momentum is everything, and we want to have that going as quickly as possible, because the people that have momentum are more likely to keep going and keep snowballing. It's just like literally a snowball rolling down a hill. It gets bigger and bigger and bigger with the amount of momentum it gains, and then suddenly there's no stopping them, and they will become clients, and they'll buy your products and services, and so on. So we want to gain that momentum as much as we can do it. And again, it doesn't have to be lots of fake engagement. We want it to be meaningful stuff, some form of meaningful engagement. We want them to take a small action or multiple small meaningful actions. And these can also be quick wins. Quick wins or conversations, again, are going to be some of the best things that we could potentially do. A quick win could be something in terms of a mindset shift. It could be a quick win that you actually get them a small amount of the result that you're promising with your higher level training and so on. But if you can get them a little win or something that they're then going to trust you and want more from you, or maybe you give them a template that they can implement and you show them how to put it into action, these are all mini wins. So whatever you can do, a mini win is a great thing as well. But some form of meaningful action inside the community. Think of this as an onboarding experience. So I think we really want to focus on the sort of white glove treatment if you can. I think the first 30 days of anybody in a community is very difficult to reactivate people after that stage. So yes, engagement is good because you want to keep people coming back, but meaningful engagement early on and creating a great experience so that even if they do go dead later on, they will remember that good experience at the beginning and how engaged you were with them and basically trying to speak to them, trying to help them, giving them things, and so on. So we want to create a really good onboarding experience that pushes them towards the goal of becoming a client in a way that shows that we're trying to help them, because we are obviously trying to help them. We don't want to be super pushy. We want to take them to take meaningful action in the first 7 days, ideally. And then the next third metric is client conversion path. We want to make sure that we've got some form of client conversion path and people are moving through it. So we want to monitor how people are moving through the flow that we put in place. So this is going from free to paid. So if you've got your free community and they sign up and they've got the free training, and then people that have bought the upgrade, be it your upgraded membership or a course or your high ticket program, how did we get people from A to B? So we got people from A to B. We want to think about that flow that hopefully you've set up. And I will put a link to our free community in the video description where I can talk about the setup that we do and how we create a content flywheel with YouTube and our school community working together. This is a great flow, a great strategy that we use as well. But you want some type of flow that you are monitoring, that there is a system in place, however simple that system might be, that is taking people through the onboarding process with the mini actions and so on, all the way through to booking a call, then what happens, and so on. So we want to make sure that we're monitoring how that system and that flow is actively working. So communities are normally not the product. So what we need to think about is the community is the nurturing environment where people are coming in, they're getting to know you. It's about trust building. It's about more of the what and the why rather than the how. And we're getting them ready for the next steps. But the flow that we want to use, so the client conversion path, is basically us wanting to get them towards the product itself. How do we introduce them to the product? How do we guide them to that? How do we elevate them towards becoming a client or buying that particular product? So the community itself is just the environment to nurture towards that step. So we need a clear path of how they can do that. So if your community doesn't have a clear path of how they can become a client, maybe you've just got lots of free training in there and you've got a course, but you're not telling people about the course. The freebies don't push people towards the course. You've got group calls, but they're not pushing people towards the course. If there's no clear way of trying to guide people, like it's a natural congruent next step, then it's obviously not going to be working and you can't really monitor that. And we also want to see, okay, can I make this into a system of different steps that I need to do with each person that comes in? This could be part of your onboarding process that gently guides them towards the product and the service itself. So we don't want it to just become a random community where some people by chance maybe book a call and want to work with you. We want to have a system in place and a plan in place to be able to convert. And now when we're talking about high ticket conversions, it's good to sort of know where you are in terms of your community and where you're standing. Because if your community is making less than 1% of sales, so you're converting less than 1% of people, then it normally means that your message or your flow is not clear. The activation is not clear. You've got some issues there, and it is just more of a random conversion that is happening rather than intent driven. And then as you've got to 1 to 3%, that normally means that you've got a solid and sustainable system in place. You're now around the average. I do notice that the averages can often be a lot higher with communities. So the conversion rates can be even 10% in some cases. So you can really have a very high conversion rate if it's congruent with your traffic source. But if you've got anything around 2 to 3%, then you already have a solid business. Maybe you could look to improve it a little bit, but that's sustainable and you can build from that. So that means things are planned out. At least you have some system in place. And then 5% normally means that you've got a highly curated or a real conversion-led community where it's very clear the path to pay people, to elevate people. The ladder is very clear on exactly the different steps that they need to do to get to that next step. So we want to make sure that people aren't guessing. People know your community in most cases is a business. They came to you because they wanted to learn more. You've given them a lot of free stuff. Show them what the next step is before they start looking somewhere else for that information. I hope that helped. Let me know in the comments if you've got any questions. And again, if you would like to join our free community, I will link to that in the video description. Otherwise, thanks for watching. I'll see you in the next one.